Hey everyone, it's Allen over at Cobblers Plus, and today we've got a couple of interesting Allen Edmonds that aren't very common. We've got the Strawfut and a pair of the Players as well in the Suede. Come check us out and see what we're doing on them today. So thank you for joining us here today, and for this video episode I decided to put these shoes together and do them at the same time instead of doing them separately. So we'll see how long this video is. I'm trying to narrow down and cut my video times down, but let's get to it basically. So for today with the Strawfut, we're going to be resoling them with a pair of JR John Rennenbuck Oak Bark Tan soles, and we're going to be doing the matching dovetail heels here. And for the Players in the Suede, gentleman wanted the red Dainite. I think for that color, red would definitely be a great one there. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on this. All right, so at this point we're just gonna start taking apart the shoe, or at least the sole. Not really taking apart the shoe, but definitely the sole on these. And so we still have plenty of wear. Some of you I know have commented on some of my videos saying, oh, there's not much wear on the shoes or anything like that. Obviously you can tell there's still plenty of wear on these shoes. Even the heels aren't really worn down. Let me grab this one. Not really worn down on that edge. But the gentleman was not the original owner of these, so he wanted to, get that cork replaced, and he wanted them to be done the way he wants them originally. And in this case, he wanted the Dainite, and he wants the JR sole. And so anybody that's wanting to press on that comment button and say those barely have any wear on them, yes, we know, but final decision is whoever the current owner of these shoes is. He could do whatever he wants to them. If he wants to change the color on them, he can. And we'll give our honest recommendation about it all. So, but it is a little interesting on the Strawfut here in particular. Did notice this branding there, little shoe, kind of cool. So just thought I'd show that off. This other foot though, however, turned out lopsided, whoever did it. Kind of funny. But we're gonna take off the heel block here. And as most of you who have watched my videos before typically know, that these Allen Edmonds heel blocks are nailed from the top here. So we're gonna make sure that we grab our silver marker, and this is the right foot. I'll just put STR for Strawfut so that I know which shoe it goes to on this one. Now we're going to grab our trusty knife, get in here, and start splitting it. Alright, so I cut through the whole sole, and the point is, obviously, with this blade here, we're splitting the sole from the welt where the adhesive holds everything, as well as cutting through all the stitches at the same time. That way it's a little bit easier to pull all the old stitches out for us, but gives you an idea. Still had plenty of wear all over, but again, everyone has their own preferences. I mean, we just did a pair not long ago for a gentleman by the name of Simon. It was a two-part video that's very, very long, but they were brand new Allen Edmonds, never even been worn. He had them shipped directly to our shop to have everything done to them. But when we opened it up, unfortunately there were some missed spots with the cork, and that is a little bit of a shame. But in this case, since we're going to be removing and replacing the sole, we always take out the old cork and replace it. Now obviously there's a handful of cobblers out there that say you need to try to save the old cork because that has the original imprint, It sounds great in theory, but the cork's going to re-break in. You just have to go through a little bit of a break-in process. Not nearly as much as a full brand new pair of shoes, just because your upper's already broken in and the leather inlay here is broken in as well. But the problem is with cork, it is designed as a wick away agent to wick away all that moisture from when your foot is sweating. But at the same time, that cork still absorbs a lot of those salts and minerals that your perspiring foot gives off. So always a good idea to remove that cork and replace it. And when we replace it, we don't use the hot cork method. Cobblers don't tend to do that because, one, it's not very cost effective for a cobbler to own that kind of machine. But the other key thing that I like personally is with the hot cork, you have that issue of either putting too much and then just kind of forcing it in with the iron, and then that makes the feel of the shoe a little too hard, or the opposite direction, you don't put enough and there's like little gaps that are missed, or there's just not enough to add any kind of support or cushion to the shoe itself. So we use pre-cut cork, which you'll see a little bit later once I get these all filled in. And that particular pre-cuts, sometimes they'll come in sheets and we cut them out ourselves as well too. It's a predetermined thickness and predetermined density, so less problems of having, you know, a missed spot here and there with the cork, or you know, certain hardness to the shoe once you get them back. And so that predetermined density and thickness makes a world of difference on your feet. So we're gonna finish taking out the cork on this one. I just wanted to let you guys see what it looks like. It's a very time-consuming thing sometimes. Other times, some of these Allen Edmonds, you just grab the cork and you're able to pull it all out at once. Again, as I mentioned, this gentleman was not the original owner, so that's one of the key reasons. Also, he wants them resold to get this cork replaced so that he can be the one that breaks it in and not have someone else's footprint inside there that's kind of agitating the foot. So I'll finish taking out the cork on this one and do the same thing on the mate to that one, and I'll start doing the same thing on these ones here. And once we have the sole off, I'll let you guys check it out, because Allen Edmonds, some of their models do have a shank in them, some of them don't, and some of them have a little heel pad on the inside that can fall into the shank category, but at the same time not so much. And once we have these apart, we'll find out what's inside here exactly, and I'll let you guys check it out. As far as being able to pre-identify which model has a shank and doesn't have a shank, unfortunately, that's a huge mystery for all of us cobblers. I have noticed, however, that any model that has a rubber sole of any kind or a Dainite sole like this, they really need that shank, because it's going to give some support features, shock absorption, and it's going to keep that area of the foot a little more rugged, which you need on a shoe. And rubber, unfortunately, is a little too flexible. It's a little on the flimsier side, where if you get a pair of Allen Edmonds with a leather sole, sometimes it'll have a shank in there, sometimes it doesn't. So as you can tell, there's a little bit of stiffness to the leather compared to the rubber here. So just wanted to point that out for anybody that's wondering which models have a shank, which ones don't. Typically, you need a shank at the very least if it's a rubber sole. If it's a leather sole, it's kind of up to Allen Edmonds to decide what they're going to do with that shoe there. So let me finish these out and I'll see you back in just a little bit. All right, everyone, so we're back here again. We've got the cork cleaned out on both of these. Nothing too major. Well, it seems like it's all intact on the Strawfuts. And then the players, same story on these as what the Strawfuts were. No shank on them. Cork, same thing. We took that one out. I left this one with the cork just to let you see. They did a fairly good job with filling it in. I mean, there's a few small spots here and there, like on this one they kind of missed the toe area. There's a few pieces of leather as I was cutting through it, but you know, nothing major. But I did notice on the players, where's the original sole? There it is. On the players in particular, obviously the sole is fairly thick on here, and that's because they added a midsole. Don't know if anyone can see that line right here. And so we're going to be putting on a midsole regardless, since we're putting a Dainite sole on there, and it was very thick looking as well. So we're gonna make sure to put a new leather midsole back on. I mean, I could put a different color on as well. We can do something bright colored, we could do something neutral, black, brown, neutral color, you know, red and green, blue. There's a number of colors, but we don't want to overdo it with too much bright colors on here, so we're going to stick to the leather midsole on these ones and just give it that neutral finish on it with the red Dainite sole. Now, for any of you out there that may be wondering what shoes or boots have midsoles, why do they have them, why do they not have them? Typically, the answer is, with a rubber sole like Dainite, again, because it's so flimsy, you need something a little bit of a stiffener, in other words. And even if these did have a shank in there or didn't have a shank, it doesn't make a difference. When you have something that has this much flex in it, you have no resistance to help support the toes, because when you're walking, your toes obviously bend, but when you have a little bit of a stiffer sole, it gives you a little bit more of that rollover effect. It relieves some of that strain off the toes, and because of that, allows for a little bit of a support feature. Now, obviously, we can just put the Dainite sole straight on, works fine and everything, but you lose a lot of those support features. Now, the cases that they do not put a midsole on, and I wouldn't put it on as well, I don't recommend doing it, is if the shoe has no way of being secured onto your foot. So that means it has no laces, it has no buckles, no Velcro, no zippers, none of that. If it's just a slip-on or it has just a little piece of elastic, problem is that that toe area here where it bends becomes a little too stiff, so when you're walking, your shoe kind of slips off, or boot in that case as well. A lot of boots, same story as well with the Allen Edmonds or other brands too. Even if it's an ankle high boot, it's a nice tight fit around the ankle, typically you don't want to add a midsole on there just for that reason, because it's going to end up sliding up and down the heel a little too much. So for anyone that has been wondering about that, why do I need a midsole, why my shoes have a midsole, that's one of the key reasons why some companies do that. Now on this one, obviously, as you can tell, because it had the leather on here, it's more of an aesthetics thing, and it's a great selling point when you say it's got a double stacked leather sole on there, because technically that's what it is. It's got a leather midsole and the leather outer sole, and so sounds a little bit fancier. And for some people, they actually like that thicker look, having such a thick leather sole on there. That's not a problem either. If you're wanting it for aesthetics purposes, we can do that for you too. Again, only problem is that we come across is if it's just a slip-on, if it has no way of being able to secure the shoe, or a closure that will cinch down that opening here a little more, keep it nice and tight on your foot, you run into those problems of potentially either getting a blister because it's rubbing too much up and down on the heel, or your shoe may fall off every now and then. So I advise against that, but if you really want that midsole on there, I guess we can go ahead and do that for you. But if it's got a lace, a buckle, or whatever else on there to secure it nice and tight, then your options are a little more open, in other words. So just thought I'd point that out to anybody that's always wondered about midsoles. If you don't like the midsole, for example, on this pair, we can definitely put a sole on without the midsole. But if it's a rubber sole of any kind, whether it's the Dainite, the Vibrams, Soltech, Goodyear, some of Allen Edmonds originals, if you don't have a midsole on there, keep that in mind, that you are going to lose some of the support features and some of that absorption of your toes having to hyperextend a little bit. So just bear that in mind if you're planning on getting your footwear recrafted in any kind of way, that if you have or don't have a midsole, that's one of those things you have to think over. With a leather sole, if you're picking a JR sole like we're doing on the Strawfuts here, you can do a midsole, you could do without a midsole. These originally did not have a midsole on there, and we're going to keep it that way because, especially with the JR soles, they're already a fairly stiff sole, so you're going to get a lot of nice support feature in that toe area for sure with these. Adding an extra layer of midsole, at that point you're just having some aesthetics added to it, and that's personal preference. So at this point, as you can tell, we've got that taken care of. Now we're going to go ahead and sand all this out, try to get some of that extra cork out of here. Obviously we can't sand too much, otherwise we will damage the gemming here, which is this felt material that the Goodyear welt is stitched to. So we can't sand too much, but we'll try to get a little extra cork out, get all these stitches pulled all around here, and then get ready to fill it in with a new cork. And so I'll get a lot of that taken care of. Now for the suede ones, and actually even these ones too, I'm actually going to have to pull all these by hand, because on our stitch pulling machine, or on our shine machine that has a stitch puller on it, because the machine spins so fast, I'm more concerned about these lighter colors getting some color transfer or a little bit of burning done by the machine, so I'm gonna have to sit here and just pluck all the stitches out by hand. It's time consuming, but that little extra safety precaution can definitely help save a pair of shoes. Otherwise I'll have some nasty looking marks on it, and we don't want any of that, especially not on shoes that are uncommon like these. I mean, I know a handful of you gentlemen may have a pair or two, but you'd be surprised, these two pairs, they're actually not very commonly seen. I think even our local store doesn't really carry either one of these. I've never even seen them carry models like this unless it was somewhere like on a hidden shelf. But yeah, so I'm gonna continue on and we'll see you back in just a few. All right, everyone, so I started plucking all the stitches. As you can tell, they're on the players here. So we got these ones pulled out. Those we're still working on. And same story on these ones here. But it's quite literally a tedious process going with a picker like that there. And just pluck them and have to pull them with some pliers. I know it's a little bit of a tedious thing compared to our usual stitch puller, but it's a lot safer bet, especially with all these lighter colors, and because this leather here is bookbinder leather or corrected grain leather, unfortunately, on this. So it's not quite a full grain, but you know, still want to be a little more careful with it anyways. Full grain leather, I'd be a little more comfortable with it, but bookbinder or corrected grain leather, still want to be a little careful on it. So let me go ahead and finish pulling those out. Still got to get that cork sanded out here on the bottom and everything and cleaned up and refill it. So we'll see you back here. All right, everyone, so we're back here again with these, and yes, I do have my fedora on. I already stuck the soles on each of the left shoes right there. So I've got the leather midsole right there. These are the ones that are getting that red Dainite. And then I've got the JR sole on the opposite one. And on the right foot, just so I could show all of you, I didn't stick it quite yet. Let me stick this back in the oven. It's cooling off too quickly while I talk. But anyways, that's kind of what it looks like with the cork filled right there. Helps fill in that void nicely, gives a little bit better support features, insulation. And again, because this gentleman ended up having these pre-owned by someone else, he wants that cork to be broken into his foot. So obviously when you have your cork replaced, you kind of have to go through a little bit of a break-in period. But hey, if you got them at a steal, and I mean these things, I don't know what he paid for them, but he must have gotten them for a steal. If he bought from the same person, I think he got them from the same person. And these are awesome shoes. I would love to have a pair for myself, well, actually one of each at least of these. Definitely very cool to have. So just thought I'd point that out. But anyways, at this point, we reactivate all the adhesives after they've kind of dried for a little bit. I've got 2 coats on here. We'll reactivate it with the oven here behind the camera. And also it makes the sole a little more pliable. That way when we're sticking it together, especially the JR leather, it's a little bit harder. It makes it a little bit easier to... sorry, let me hammer real quick. Makes it a little bit easier to get it to kind of mold and sit nicely and flush all around, especially once it goes to the press. Okay, just like that. And that's it. So can't remember if I mentioned the cork pieces, but we use the pre-cuts like this, not the hot cork method. I've mentioned this a number of times in previous videos as well. I'm not a big fan of the hot cork method, again, because that cork is melted, and when you take a hot iron, you kind of force it in there. You might add too much, not enough, makes the sole feel too hard, or you know, just doesn't form well enough. So you know, it just ends up being one of those things where, you know, using pre-cuts like this is much better because the density is predetermined, so is the thickness. On these 2 particular ones, we did have to double up the thickness because, you know, sometimes we need more, sometimes we need, you know, just a little bit less. And I doubled up and then kind of sanded out the extra amount of cork to make sure it's flush and has the perfect, I guess you can say, filling, in other words. So that's one of the great things about the pre-cuts. It really makes it easier because, again, with the hot cork method, you put too much in there, you might accidentally squeeze it in too much, and it doesn't expand until it really cools off. And having the sole already on there, which is a lot of times what happens, you know, you press down the sole and you don't realize that it's really hard underneath there. And sometimes if you accidentally miss it, which I've been noticing a lot from Allen Edmonds and a few other companies, don't think I'm just dogging Allen Edmonds. They're an awesome shoe, but it's becoming more and more of a problem. I've noticed with a number of brands where they're just not filling it all the way in. So bit of an upgrade, in other words. Anyways, just the explanation on that. The other reason why Cobblers also, it's not practical for us to have those hot cork machines, just because they're expensive and we don't manufacture shoes, we repair them, and not all shoes and boots have cork inlay. Some of them also, you actually don't use a hot cork method like Western boots. If they're just getting the cork from here to the toe area, you get too much cork that kind of slips out the sides and everything, and it becomes a whole mess of things, and it's nasty. You don't want to deal with it because those hard corks, they add certain special adhesives that actually stay sticky for a while, well, for a long while after, and it's really gross. And if you've got a nice pair of shoes with a nice suede upper or something, and or boots, and it squeezes out through the side on a pair of Western boots, good luck cleaning that out. That stuff does not want to come off very easily. But anyways, let me go ahead and stick the rest of the soles on. I've got these already pressed out. I've pressed out the welt area here, trimmed up some of the excess amounts, and gonna let these cool overnight and cure. And then tomorrow I'll be able to come back in and continue on working on these. So we'll see you all. Alright everyone, so we're back with these. We've got them all stitched up with beige thread here and beige on top. The other ones I set aside, they're kind of a surprise towards the end. I don't want to spoil the surprise on that one because I was experimenting with something. Didn't turn out perfect, but I'll still let you guys see it towards the end. But we're basically doing the same thing on the other ones as we are with these. We got the heel bases on, and what we did is because we were putting the Dainite heels on these ones and the other ones are getting the JR dovetail. Those JR dovetails are thicker, just like these Dainite heels from the original factory ones. So that means we have to take off this little black pad right here and remove that, and then we have to sand out this heel base or heel block just at a certain angle basically until everything is nice and leveled here and it doesn't rock in any form or way when we push down on the back of the heel, which this one doesn't right there. So that's kind of what we need to do with when we adjust to a different type of sole from what it was before. And so again, with that JR dovetail heel, because it's thicker, it's the same story. So this is what the JR dovetail heel is like. It's a little bit thicker. Comparing it to, let's grab the Allen Edmonds heel. That's a fair difference in thickness right there. So just want to point that out. Also, any of you that haven't seen this, we do have these in stock, by the way. I know some of you who love the Allen Edmonds brand stuff. We got the original factory heels. If you're ever feeling like you want those on a certain pair of shoes, just request it. We'll definitely get that taken care of. Alright, so if you're not familiar with the Allen Edmonds, the way they secure their heel bases is from the outside. Typically, most other brands will secure it from the inside. They'll run nails in, and then they have a leather heel pad or an insole that covers that up. But Allen Edmonds does it a little bit different, along with a few other brands out there, where they run nails in through that area there where all the original holes are. So that's what we're going to be doing on this pair, and we definitely want to make sure to do that with these nails, because they're gripper nails. And with a gripper nail, they have these little rings on them that once they go into the material, they grab hold very well and keep that heel block intact nicely. And we definitely want this heel block to stay on, because this is fiberboard material that is being adhered to rubber. And then on top of that, we're gonna have another rubber piece where this one's got holes for the nails in it as well. And typically I usually just run the nails through here, but the way this one is set up, because it's got the midsole, it doesn't hurt to have that extra little bit. And basically once I have that top lift heel on there, these nails from the look of it aren't lining up, where the holes aren't lining up with where the nails were originally, so we shouldn't have any kind of issues with them ramming into each other. But if we do come across that issue, there are ways of fixing that up, and that's creating a hole into like a different direction with a punch hole like that. So let me go ahead and get the other one taken care of, get these all glued up and ready to go. The other thing is, some companies also, when they use Dainite heels, they actually don't nail these. We try to, but every now and then there are certain occasions where we need to avoid using nails. So we'll go along with it and see how it goes by testing it out with a punch hole and see how far those nails are really going to sit. But let me go ahead and get these taken care of, as well as the other ones, and we'll see you back in just a few. All right, everyone, so I thought I would be able to try to hold it off till the end, but I really gotta let you guys see how we're doing with these. So I was hoping to really kind of save them towards the end, just because I decided to experiment and do some odd stuff. I did freehand a lot of this. Well, basically I did actually freehand the whole thing to try to give these nice little markings here and stuff like that. But anyways, that's how these are coming along so far. The owner of these shoes, he decided to give me a call. He saw my post about the Vibram JR combo heels here, and he asked if we can go ahead and put those on. So we'd gone ahead and taken that route instead of the JR dovetail heels that we typically do. So anybody that hasn't seen yet, yes, we've got the JR Vibram combo heels, and like that right there. So very cool. I have noticed that these, for anybody wondering, do they last longer and so on, I have noticed it seems like they have been lasting a little bit longer. Durability wise, they do seem like they're a little bit tougher, in other words. So when I was sanding it, it just seemed like it's a really good combination between these two brands. Now, I was debating on the heels, like if I should do much of anything with the blue, and I didn't want to go overboard with blue on it, so I'm going to go ahead and do one of these little lines that's about the same. Oh, shoot, hang on just a second. Just wanted to slide off on me, but it's about the same width apart as the stitches are. And I'm just gonna, I already treated the bottom. I put a little bit of the neutral Saphir Seraphim cream on there, give it a bit of a finish. Now I'm gonna go onto my Angelus acrylic paints like that there. If I can open this one, it's really stuck. There it goes. And just a little bit of blue. It is a little bit tougher to get it to cooperate, so where is rag? There it is. It's a lot easier usually with typically a darker color, so I'm trying to get it as even. Now this gentleman did say I can pretty much experiment and do whatever, so this is my first time messing around with this this scenario with light color and a darker color kind of mixed like that, so it's a little different, in other words. And because I freehanded it all, it's not perfect, unfortunately, but maybe I'll try to make or find some templates or something and try that route. It's kind of fun sometimes when you get some freedom to experiment and do different things that you don't, things that are kind of out of the norm. So, but sometimes those new experiments don't turn out the way you want them to. Like right now, that blue is not wanting to cooperate with me. It's wanting to bleed into the rest of the heel there. So, yeah, kind of like that, so it matches up with that stitch there. So I'm gonna set this aside to dry for a little bit, and then I'll go through with some more of that Seraphim cream and kind of touch it up. I did have one little spot that during the process of when I was pulling off the tape, just right there nicked it, and I'm debating if I should get in there and sand it, but I don't know if it's gonna make it worse or what because it's so close to that blue color. But I think I might risk it and go for attempting to restore its appearance a little bit more. Well, the tool I'm using is just a standard groover for leather. Just kind of cuts out a nice little groove pattern. I've done this before on previous pairs of shoes and I liked it. It kind of gives it that option where you don't go overboard, at least on the heel with color. Maybe on the sole you have a lot of color in it or something, and the heel can stay at least semi-neutral in a way, but just have that little extra touch. Obviously it's going to wear out. Yes, I know some of you are like, why would you bother? I like it. You know, what's wrong with that? You know, do you guys like it? Let me know, comment down below. If you've had me do this to a pair of your shoes, does it bug you? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Or if I haven't worked on your shoes, you know, let me know what you think. Would you have this done to your shoes? Again, usually when I'm doing this, it's on a finish that we put on that's a little bit darker, but I decided to go for a lighter color on this one, and everyone here in the shop also voted, yeah, go for the lighter color, and I like getting everyone's opinions too. I don't just always mine's the final decision type of thing. So if I like an idea, I run it past a few people here and they say, oh yeah, that sounds great. Nah, don't do that. They tell me, you know, I listen sometimes. Except for right now, dang it, this is like agitating because that blue just wants to spread. It's a wildfire. Jeez. I feel like I'm just cleaning. Yes, it's extra work that I'm doing, obviously. Some cobblers are probably cringing in their seats right now if they're watching, like, what are you doing? Why are you even bothering? Just give up on it. Sand it, get rid of it. I want to do it. Okay, so we'll see how that goes with the blue. I've got the players up there with the Dainite. Got all those sanded out and everything. So now I'm just gonna let these sit and dry for a little while. I'm gonna put the edging on both of them and we'll go from there. So we'll see you back in just a few. All right, everyone, so I've gone through and kind of touched up some of the areas, cleaned up a little bit on the suede here, and then on this one I went through this area. This is not a full grain leather, it's a box leather, kind of basically a version of corrected grain leather. So unfortunately it's not highest quality leather, but hey, it's still a pretty cool shoe though on this Strawfut. But got everything cleaned up, we got the bottoms finished up. For any of you that might be wondering why I'm not running nails in the heels here, I thought to keep them a little bit more, you know, plain. In other words, I think this pair of shoes, just adding nails just seems like it's a little too much. The nails that we typically add in here, they play two reasons: decorative, and the other thing is to help hold down the leather on the rubber, because leather can start to peel up after a period of time. But I've noticed on these JR and Vibram combination heels that that leather doesn't actually peel off all that well. You got to put some effort into it. The dovetail ones, however, I got an experimental pair here, but I've noticed that this leather does peel up. You add a little bit of heat to it, starts to peel up, you know, certain type of wear, and it's just the type of rubber this is, I guess. But the Vibram ones, I had no issues whatsoever with it, and it's definitely a perfect one to be able to have without really needing to run nails into it. As far as the uppers the rest of the way, again, we're done with these. I'm just gonna finish out by waterproofing them with some Saphir Super and Over, and make sure to help these, because obviously suede and the Strawfut design here with the cotton, it's gonna pick up a lot of dirt, dust, debris, you know, stains and everything, and it definitely well worth it to have a waterproofer on there. You can use a number of waterproofers such as the Tarago Nano, Four Seasons, Cadillac, and Saphir's product as well. I like this one for, you know, basically a shoe like this. In other words, something that if you plan to be able to take care of a little more efficiently down the road, say conditioning it, or if you need to do a full cleaning, some of those waterproofers out there might be just a little bit too strong, and they end up basically having an effect on the shoe where you have to use something along the lines of ammonia to try to clear it up, especially if the product has polymer or silicone in it. They definitely tend to be a little bit stronger, which is great, but when it comes time to clean them or do any other treatment, you have to take extra steps to just remove that those added ingredients. So that's why I like the Saphir Super and Over, because it's kind of that perfect balance of that it's stronger than a lot of the water-based waterproofers out there, but not so strong that it's overpowering and you end up having issues with trying to clean the shoes down the road. So definitely a great one, especially for your high quality footwear, your, you know, rare shoes, your limited edition ones that you really want to try to maintain very well. And this is definitely well worthy way to go compared to other products. Price wise, typically obviously it's going to be a little bit more. It's a Saphir product. I can't quite mention over camera how much it's worth, just because Saphir has certain restrictions, unfortunately, about trying to mention prices and all that kind of stuff. But we're gonna honor that. We're gonna respect Saphir's wishes and not mention that. If you're interested in purchasing this, at the moment of the recording here, I am out of stock of it, but hopefully here shortly I'll have it restocked. And just send me a message or give me a call, and we can definitely send some your way and get you all ready for whatever you need on your suedes, nubucks, or other types of leathers as well. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Now we got these ones all taken care of, and these with the Dainite. I like how these turned out there. Definitely kind of want that shoe. What do you guys think? Beautiful shoe. I just used a cream around the edges, no serious waxing. I still wanted a little bit of color added, but that leather I wanted to still be somewhat visible. It just definitely looks nicer than trying to put a full finish like on these ones with the brown around there. But again, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Give us a call, swing on by, send us an email. You can find all our contact information on our website, CobblersPlusCO. And if you like the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell icon to be notified when our next video is out. We've been posting our daily videos talking about different products, different brands, and a number of other things. Check those out if you'd like to have certain details you'd like to learn about in a shorter period of time than these full recraft videos like we do here. The recrafts we're trying to keep up with on Saturdays, and our Soul Talk Sundays on Sunday. So check those out if you're interested, and we'll see you next time.